Hi, welcome. Holly Becker here from Instructional Tech. We're here to talk about 3 ways that you can use Google Jamboard to check in on your students. So here I am on Jamboard. Now there's 2 main places you can find Jamboard. The first is in your waffle. So if you're logged into Google, you can simply go to your waffle and then find Jamboard. So I'm just going to scroll down. Here's Jamboard right there. I also could go to jamboard.google.com and it will bring me to the same place. So we're going to be looking at 3 different ways that you can check in on your students using a collaborative Jamboard. The first way we are going to look at is a morning check-in. So this example here I have gives students the morning plan for the day and then jumps into an emotional check-in for our students just to kind of gauge where they're at in their day. So you can see I tell them what our day will look like, some big ideas that we're going to hit, and then some things they need to make sure they have ready, and then our schedule for the morning. On the next page, they'll slide over, and then there's a morning check-in. Students can change their name on the sticky note and then drag it to wherever they feel like they belong. To edit these names, they're simply going to double-click, and they'll just write their name, and it's ready to move wherever they think they fit on this check-in. All right, let's scroll over. Here's another example of an emotional check-in for our students. If you have younger students or students who like using emojis, you could use a check-in something like this that just has a picture that represents each feeling that a student might have. Again, they just simply double-click to change their name and drag it to under the emoji how they're feeling. I find these very helpful to do in the morning first thing so I know how my students are feeling that day. If I have a student and there's a lot of students under tired, I know we need to bring in some activity for the day. If I have a few students who are under angry, mad, sad, worried, maybe I know that maybe I don't call on them first thing in the morning. Maybe I go and I check in on them right after specials and kind of see how they're feeling, seeing why they're upset, if there's something they want to talk about. If I have some students who are happy, content, silly, maybe I know those are my students I'm going to look for as positive interactions for the day, examples of how we volunteer answers, and maybe they're people I call on when we're looking for some good volunteers. All right, the second way I love to check in with my students using Jamboard is by doing objective, formative check-ins. So let's take a look at 2 different ways that I do that. Here is my first option. So when I'm doing an objective formative check-in, I am checking in on my students' performance or self-evaluation of the objectives for the day. So the first thing I need to do is make sure my students know what the objectives are for the day. So I always list both the content and the language objective, and then I usually try to include the vocabulary we're going to be using as well. On the next slide, after the lesson has been taught, I have students check in. I have them throw a thumbs up into one of the 3 columns. Are they feeling like they've got it? Questionable, or I'm still working on it. They can take one of these thumbs and then just drag it where they belong. This is a no pressure way for students to evaluate their own learning because their name is not tied to the check-in. I just want to know as a class overall, how are we doing? Do I need to move forward? Do I need to slow down? Or do maybe I need to stop and reteach? Here's my next example. Again, I list the content and the language objectives and the key vocabulary on the first slide. I show this to students before we teach the lesson so they know exactly what to expect for the lesson and know what they are expected to learn. And then afterwards, I again rewrite the content objectives so it's fresh in their mind. And then at the bottom, it says, I've got it, I'm starting to understand, or I need more time. This time, students can put their names under the columns so I know who needs to be retaught, who maybe just needs a little bit more time, and who are smooth sailing and think they're ready to go. This helps me evaluate my teaching. Was I successful with my students? Do my students feel like I was able to help them master that objective? So it's a great way to check in. Again, if you reteach that objective, students can come back and move their name to the new category if they feel like they have now mastered it. So maybe they needed more time, you gave them a reteach, and now they've got it. They're able to move their name over to the I've got it category. All right, my third and final way I like to use Jamboard in the classroom to check in with my students is a simple exit ticket. Exit tickets are easy and powerful. This example gives a time for students to tell me something they either learned, something they found interesting, or questions you still have. I always love having the option to write down a question you might have. This gives even your quietest students an opportunity to have a voice to ask you questions about things they're unsure about. And there you have it, 3 ways that I use Jamboard in my classroom to check in with my students. If you have other ways that you love to use Google Jamboard to check in with your students, make sure to leave it in the comments below. Thank you for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.